Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. This is Tariq. In the previous lecture we were learning determination of aggregate output level using fiscal policy, and we discussed the two instruments of fiscal policy. One were government spending multiplier and other were tax multiplier to determine the change in aggregate output level. Today our topic is the difference between government spending and tax multipliers. Today we will differentiate the government spending multiplier and tax multiplier. So the major difference between the government spending and tax multipliers is this, that the change in aggregate output level because of change in government spending is more than the change in aggregate output level because of change in tax. Comparatively, the change in aggregate output level because of government spending multiplier is more than the change in aggregate output level because of tax multiplier. So what is the reason? The reason of this difference between the two multipliers, let me elaborate. Reason is this, that G we are using as a symbol, capital G we are using as a symbol for the government spending or government expenditure. Capital G is the direct component of aggregate demand, and aggregate demand and capital G carry positive relationship, has positive relationship. Let me take you to the aggregate demand and its three components. This is aggregate demand carry three components. Aggregate demand has three components. You can see, students, aggregate demand are AE. A stands for aggregate, E stands for expenditures. So aggregate demand and aggregate expenditures carry same meaning, have same meaning, is equal to C, which is aggregate consumption of the household, plus I, which is aggregate investment of the businesses in Afghanistan, plus G, which is aggregate government spending of the government of Afghanistan. So this aggregate demand carry three components. This is an equation, and G is positively related to the aggregate demand. There is direct positive relationship between aggregate demand and G. If the government increase this capital G by $1 or by $100 million, so this aggregate demand will also increase by $1 or by $100 million. So there is no tax in this equation. There is no tax in these three components of aggregate demand. So that is why I am saying that G is the direct component of aggregate demand, and G is used as a symbol for the government spending. So when the government increase government spending by $1, aggregate demand will also increase by $1. But in the case of taxes, tax is not the direct component of aggregate demand. Tax directly affect the disposable income of the people. When the tax decrease by $1, disposable income of the people will increase by $1, not aggregate demand. So this is tax directly affect disposable income. And when income increase by $1, out of this $1, some portion the people of Afghanistan will consume, and some portion of $1 the people will save. So whatever the people is consuming, that is called MPC, which is given in here. MPC is the marginal propensity to consume, which is MPC is equal to 0.75. This is consumption out of $1. The amount that the people of Afghanistan will consume out of the change in income of $1. MPC is $0.75. So the $0.75 is a part of the aggregate demand. Means aggregate demand will increase by $0.75, not by $1. And 0.25 means 25%, 25% that the people save. So save is not included to the demand. Save is going outside from the aggregate demand. So that is why when the G increased by $1, aggregate demand increased by $1. But when the tax decreased by $1, aggregate demand only increased by $0.75. So $0.75 is less than $1. And that is why change in aggregate output level because of change in G is more than the change in aggregate output level because of change in tax. So this is the major reason. Let me read this theory. Reason: government spending G is the direct component of aggregate demand, mean the positive relationship between aggregate demand and government spending. As G change by $1, aggregate demand will also change by $1, and output will change by the amount of the size of the government spending multiplier. There is positive relationship between aggregate demand and G. So when G change by $1, demand will also change by $1. But as tax decrease by $1, it will not directly affect aggregate demand of the people of Afghanistan. It will directly affect disposable income of the people of Afghanistan. And disposable income will increase by $1. Tax decrease by $1, income of the people also increase by $1. So out of the increase in income, only some portion is consumed, not total income increase is consumed. So when some amount consumers save, aggregate demand will not that much change as it changed in the case of government spending multiplier. That is why change in aggregate output because of the change in tax rate is less than the change in aggregate output level because of the change in government spending. ما ایگپرا در زبان دری هم دوباره تشریح میکنیم difference between government spending and tax multiplier. تفاوت در مابین government spending اور tax multiplier چیست؟ تفاوت یہ است کہ وقتی کہ دولت افغانستان میں خواہ کہ اگریگیٹ آؤٹ پٹ را انکریز کنا وہ کہ وہ پالیسی انسٹرومنٹ کے استعمال میں کنا وہ گورنمنٹ سپینڈنگ اس گورنمنٹ ایکسپینڈیچرز اس خو وقت کہ دولت افغانستان دولتی مصارف را در مختلف بخشا زیاد کنا بوجہ وہ اگریگیٹ آؤٹ پٹ زیاد انکریز میں شا خو وقت کہ دولت افغانستان انسٹرومنٹ ٹیکس را اپلائی کنا ٹیکس را چینج کنا کہ باید اگریگیٹ آؤٹ پٹ زیاد شوا بئی وجہ ٹیکس کے ڈیکریز شوا اگریگیٹ آؤٹ پٹ زیاد شوا خو بہو اندازہ زیاد نمیشا کہ بوجہ گورنمنٹ سپینڈنگ زیاد میشا. مختصراً یہ کہ تغییر انکریز کہ در اگریگیٹ آؤٹ پٹ بوجہ انکریز در دولتی مصارف میں ہے وہ زیاد میں ہے بمقابلہ بمقایسہ ہے کہ وقت کی دولت افغانستان ٹیکس را کم کنا و جی ڈی پی را زیاد کنا یعنی بوجہ کم کردن ٹیکس جی ڈی پی ہم انکریز میں شا خو کم انکریز میں شا اور بوجہ گورنمنٹ سپینڈنگ جی ڈی پی زیاد انکریز میں شا. یہ فرق اس در مابین دو ملٹیپلائرز گورنمنٹ سپینڈنگ ملٹیپلائرز اور ٹیکس ملٹیپلائرز. ما دوبارہ میں گم کہ دولت افغانستان وقت کی فسکل پالیسی را اپلائی میں کنا کہ رشد بیارا ترقی بیارا اگریگیٹ آؤٹ پٹ را بالا ببرا زیاد کنا وہ انسٹرومنٹ جی کیپٹل جی را استعمال میں کنا یعنی گورنمنٹ سپینڈنگ وہ گورنمنٹ سپینڈنگ کی انکریز کنا اگریگیٹ آؤٹ پٹ زیاد انکریز میں شا. خو اگر دولت افغانستان دیگا انسٹرومنٹ ٹیکس را اپلائی میں کنا اگر ٹیکس را کم کنا اگریگیٹ آؤٹ پٹ زیاد میں شا خو از گورنمنٹ سپینڈنگ ملٹیپلائر کم زیاد میں شا. یہ فرق اس یہ فرق ما پائن در با کمک میتھمیٹیکل ایکویشن ہم واضح میں کنیم. یہ ریزن علت یس کہ جی کیس گورنمنٹ سپینڈنگ یا گورنمنٹ ایکسپینڈیچر یا دولتی مصارف کہ ما بہو سمبول یا علامہ جی استعمال میں کنیم وہ ڈائریکٹ کمپوننٹ اگریگیٹ ڈیمانڈ اس وہ براہ راست مثبت ارتباط کتے اگریگیٹ ڈیمانڈ دارا. لیٹ می ٹیک یو ٹو دا components of aggregate demand. This is aggregate demand which carry three components. You can see in here aggregate demand carry three components. This is aggregate demand. AE stands for aggregate expenditure, E for expenditures, A for aggregate demand, E for expenditure, C plus I plus G. ये G के एस ये दौलती मसारिफ आस मसारिफ निशान में था, ये आलामाए मसारिफ दौलती कैपिटल जी ये कहते एग्रीगेट डिमांड मुस्बत बराह रास्त रब दारा अगर इंज बजे जी $1 भी आया या $100 मिलियन भी आया तकाज़ा मरदम अफ़गानिस्तान हम बांदाज़ा $1 या $100 मिलियन इजाफा मेशा इंजा चूँकि टैक्स नेस वेरिएबल टैक्स नेस बही वजह टैक्स कंपोनेंट एग्रीगेट डिमांड दरी हालत नेस आलिमा वापस में कि जी क्या शू डायरेक्ट इर्तिबात करते एग्रीगेट डिमांड दारा अगर कैपिटल जी गवर्नमेंट स्पेंडिंग $1 इजाफा मेशा एग्रीगेट डिमांड हम बांदाज़ा $1 इजाफा मेशा वक्त के दौलत अफ़गानिस्तान इंस्ट्रूमेंट टैक्स रा अप्लाई में कुना और टैक्स रा कम में कुना टैक्स के कम मेशा $1 एग्रीगेट डिमांड बांदाज़ा $1 इजाफा न मेशा टैक्स के अस वो बराह रास्त इर्तिबात करते एग्रीगेट डिमांड न दारा वो पॉजिटिव इर्तिबात करते डिस्पोजेबल इनकम आयद मरदूम दारा यानी टैक्स पॉजिटिवली रिलेटेड टू द इनकम ऑफ द पीपल टैक्स बराह रास्त इर्तिबात या पॉजिटिव इर्तिबात या रब्त करते आयद मरदूम दारा टैक्स की $1 कम मेशा आयद मरदूम $1 इजाफा मेशा आले आज $1 इनकम या कमा के मरदूम अफ़गानिस्तान मसारिफ दारा हो या कमा की बचत हम में कुना सेव हम में कुना वो की मसारिफ दारा वो अंदाज़ा MPC में गा मार्जिनल प्रोपेंसिटी टू कंज्यूम शरह मसारिफ मरदूम अफ़गानिस्तान वो अज $1 कुल लगी $1 नेस ये कमा के पोर्शन अस कि वो 75% 0.75 अस ये 75% मरदूम अफ़गानिस्तान मसारिफ में कुना और 25% 0.25 के MPSS मार्जिनल प्रोपेंसिटी टू सेव वो दर बचत मेरा खो इंजा एग्रीगेट डिमांड कियास वो 75% इजाफा मेशा 100% 100% इजाफा न मेशा $1 के आयद मरदूम अफ़गानिस्तान इजाफा शुद आजू दर एग्रीगेट डिमांड 75% मेरा 0.75 मेरा $1 न मेरा और 0.75 अज $1 कम अस ये MPC कंपोनेंट हिस्सा एग्रीगेट डिमांड अस और वो 0.75 $1 नेस ये अज $1 कम अस दर जी $1 दर एग्रीगेट डिमांड मेरा और दर टैक्स केस 0.75% दर एग्रीगेट डिमांड मेरा बई बवजह जी एग्रीगेट डिमांड 100% इंक्रीज मेशा और बवजह टैक्स एग्रीगेट डिमांड 75% इंक्रीज मेशा 75% अज 100% कम अस बई वजह अगर बवजह दौलती मसारिफ कैपिटल जी एग्रीगेट डिमांड 100% इजाफा मेशा आउटपुट एग्रीगेट आउटपुट अफ़गानिस्तान दौलत अफ़गानिस्तान हम ज़्यादा इजाफा मेशा और बवजह टैक्स के एग्रीगेट डिमांड 75% इजाफा मेशा वो आज 100% कम अस बई वजह एग्रीगेट आउटपुट इजाफा मेशा आज कैपिटल जी गवर्नमेंट स्पेंडिंग कम इजाफा मेशा ये फ़र्क अस दर माबैन दो मल्टीप्लायर्स आलिमा मियाम कीरा प्रूफ करें नोट मैथमेटिकल प्रूफ इज गिवन बिलो मा इरा बकुमा के रियाजी मादलात इरा क्लैरिफाई प्रूफ में करें कि चेरा बवजह इंक्रीज दर्जी एग्रीगेट आउटपुट ज़्यादा इंक्रीज मेशा और बवजह इंक्रीज और डिक्रीज इन टैक्स कम इंक्रीज मेशा मायरा दर बाय मैथमेटिकल इक्वेशन मायरा प्रूफ में कुनी ये नोटस मैथमेटिकल प्रूफ सो मैथमेटिकल प्रूफ इज गिवन इन हियर This is note, mathematical proof is given below. Government spending multiplier equation. This is the equation that will define the size of the change in aggregate output because of change in government spending. I'm again repeating, this is the government spending multiplier equation. This government spending multiplier equation will define that how much aggregate output will change if $1 government of Afghanistan increase or decrease government spending or government expenditures. For example, MPC, marginal propensity to consume, 0.90. This is the rate of consumption of the people of Afghanistan out of 1 rupee. Delta G represent the change in government spending, which is $100 million. It's mean the government of Afghanistan is going to increase the government expenditure by $100 million and do investment in different sectors of Afghanistan, like health sector, like education sector, like transportation sector, communication sector, agriculture sector, health sector, etc., etc. So the government will increase government spending by $100 million. And change in tax, that is minus $100 billion. Negative sign means decrease in tax. Delta T represent the change in tax and how much it's changing, minus $100 million. And here negative sign represent decrease in tax. Now the question is this: find the multiplier size delta Y over delta G, which is government spending multiplier, delta Y over delta T, which is tax multiplier, and delta Y calculate the change in aggregate output. So this example carry 3 parts. First we are starting find multiplier size delta Y whole divided by delta G, yani it's mean we will calculate the change in aggregate output because of change in government expenditures or government spending. We will put the values in the formula that we have. This is the government spending multiplier equation. We will put the given information MPC and delta G in here. So delta Y over delta G is equal to 1 Khudish divided by 1 Khudish minus MPC is 0.90. Yani marginal propensity to consume, the rate of consumption of the people out of 1 rupee, that is 90%. Nawat Fisad. So delta Y over delta G is equal to 1 whole divided by 1 minus 0.90, that is 0.10, and delta Y whole divided by delta G is equal to 10. When we divide this one by this 10%, 0.10, this is 10%. So 1 divided by 10% is equal to 10. Now interpretation means, what does this change in Y because of change in G means? What is the meaning of this size of the government spending multiplier? This is the calculated size of the government spending multiplier. What does this mean? This means that when the government of Afghanistan will increase government expenditure by $1, so aggregate output will change by $10. This is multiple times. 10 is multiple time, and this is multiplier, government spending multiplier. I am again repeating that interpretation is this, that when the government of Afghanistan will increase government expenditure by $1, as a result aggregate output of Afghanistan will change by $10. Now let me take you to the next slide. Now calculate the change in aggregate output Y because of change in G. So this is the formula that we will use to compute the increase in aggregate output because of increasing government spending multiplier. This is the formula: delta Y is equal to delta G, which is the increase in government spending, multiplied by 1 whole divided by 1 minus MPC. MPC is also given, which is 90%, Nawat Fisad. Delta G is also given, which is $100 million. We will just substitute the values for the variable. Delta G is $100, we substitute in this equation, and MPC is Nawat Fisad 0.90 that we replace. I am again repeating, 90% Afghans are consuming and 10% Afghans are saving. So delta Y is equal to 100 as it is. multiplied by 1 whole divided by 1 minus 0.90 is equal to 0.10. अगर यक के 90% बरावा 10% में माना 0.10. Delta y is equal to 100 multiplied by 10 and delta y is equal to $1,000. So this is the calculated change in aggregate output level. Students, dear students, you know that delta is a Greek letter and it defines change, and y is a symbol for the aggregate output. So delta y means change in aggregate output of Afghanistan. Change include both types of changes, increase in aggregate output or decrease in aggregate output. In this case, delta G is positive, $100 million government expenditure increase. That is why delta Y increased by $1,000 million. 1000 is the 10 time of 100. That is why this is called government spending multiplier. Now what does this $1,000 million mean? Interpretation. This means that if the government of Afghanistan will increase government spending, government expenditure, dawlati masarif by $100 million, as a result aggregate output of Afghanistan will increase by $1,000 million. Now let me take you to the next text multiplier. This is find text multiplier size, and the text multiplier formulation is this: delta y divided by delta t is equal to minus MPC whole divided by 1 minus MPC. This equation will determine the change in aggregate output level because of the change in taxes. Now information you have in the previous slide: delta y whole divided by delta t is equal to minus MPC whole divided by 1 minus MPC. Now we will just simply substitute in here the value of the MPC to compute the size of text multiplier. MPC is given, that is 90%, so we replace for MPC its value. This is negative, so minus 0.90 divided by 1 minus MPC is again 0.90. Delta y whole divided by delta t is equal to minus 0.90 whole divided by 0.10, and delta y whole divided by delta t is equal to minus 9. When we divide 90% by 10%, when we divide 90% by 10%, the result will be minus 9. What does this mean? This means that if the government will increase tax by $1, so aggregate output will decrease by $9. So this is multiple time, and now negative sign just means negative relationship between the increase in tax and decrease in aggregate output level. Now we are coming again here. Interpretation: if the tax rate will change by $1, aggregate output will change by $9. Now I am repeating the size of the aggregate output because of change in tax. So delta y is equal to delta t multiplied by minus MPC whole divided by 1 minus MPC. This is the tax multiplier size that we one time calculate here, which is minus 9. So you can collect directly the value of this minus MPC divided by 1 minus MPC. You can directly take its value. This is tax multiplier size which we calculate, which is minus 9. Look here, this is the same formulation: minus MPC whole divided by 1 minus MPC we calculate, which is minus 9. So students, you can collect directly minus 9 from there, and you can put for this multiplier size, tax multiplier size. But if you want to repeat completely, you can. Delta y is equal to change in tax, that was minus $100 million. The government of Afghanistan decreased tax by $100 million multiplied by, I am again putting the values, MPC is minus 0.90 whole divided by 1 minus MPC is 0.90, and now this is delta y is equal to minus 100 multiplied by minus 0.90 as it is, divided by 1 minus 0.90 is equal to 0.10, and now delta y is equal to minus $100 million as it is, and minus 0.90 divided by 0.10 will give us the result minus 9. So minus 100 multiplied by minus 9, this is $900 million. So it means that what does this mean? This means that if the government of Afghanistan will if the government of Afghanistan will decrease the tax rate by $100 million, aggregate output will increase by $900 million, and this is the multiple times of $100 million. 900 is 9 times of $100 million. I am again interpreting, I am again defining what is the meaning of delta y is equal to $900 million. Its meaning is this, that if the government of Afghanistan will decrease tax rate by $100 million, as a result, aggregate output of Afghanistan will increase by $900 million. Let me repeat again. Delta y is equal to delta t multiplied by minus MPC over 1 minus MPC. माहिर दोबारा दर ज़ुबान दरी तशरी में कुनम डेल्टा वाई क्या उसको चेंज दर एग्रीगेट आउटपुट कैलकुलेट में कुना बई फार्मूल कैलकुलेट में शाह मा दरी फार्मूल कीमत गुजारी में कुनम डेल्टा टी बशुमा दादा शुद डिक्रीज इन टैक्स दौलत अफगानिस्तान टैक्स रब कुदाम अंदाज़ा कम कदा मेरा $100 मिलियन टैक्स कम कद चिरा ये मनफी अलामा चिरा निशान में था कि टैक्स डिक्रीज शुदा मेरा MPC क्या वो माइनस 0.90 तकसीम यक मनफी MPC चंद 0.90 आले डेल्टा वाई चिमेशा मनफी $100 मिलियन डिक्रीज द टैक्स खुदिश में आया ज़रबे मनफी 0.90 खुदिश तकसीम از یک के 90% बरवा از یک के 90% منفی शवा از یک के माइनस 0.90 शवा वो रिजल्ट 0.10 में था आले डेल्टा वाई बराबर ब मनफी $100 मिलियन डिक्रीज द टैक्स खुदिश ज़रबे 90% के बदा फीसद तकसीम मेशा वो मनफी 9 रिजल्ट में था मनफी 100 के मनफी 9 ज़रब मेशा वो मुस्बत $900 मिलियन रिजल्ट में था खुद चेंज दर एग्रीगेट आउटपुट $900 मिलियन कैलकुलेट शुद। ये बही माना कि अगर दौलत अफगानिस्तान में ख्वाह के डिक्रीज खुदरा $100 मिलियन कम कुना दर बदली वो एग्रीगेट आउटपुट अफगानिस्तान $900 मिलियन इजाफा में शाह ये चंदीन टाइम इजाफा शुद 9 टाइम्स इजाफा शुद बही वजह इरा टैक्स मल्टीप्लायर मेगा इंजा ये दोबारा मा इंटरप्रिटेशन नविश्ता कदम कि अगर दौलत अफगानिस्तान टैक्स रा $100 मिलियन कम में कुना खो GDP अफगानिस्तान $900 मिलियन इजाफा में शाह अगर दौलत अफगानिस्तान टैक्स रा $1 कम में कुना खो GDP अफगानिस्तान $9 इजाफा में शाह $9 change in aggregate output because of change in tax rate. Okay, now this is a difference between the two multipliers. $9 change in aggregate output because of change in tax rate is less than $10 change in aggregate output because of change in government spending G by $1. That is why change in output $1,000 because of the change in government spending multiplier is more than the change in aggregate output $900 million because of the tax multiplier. माहिर दोबारा दर ज़ुबान दरी तशरी में कुनम के अगर दौलत अफगानिस्तान टैक्स रा $1 कम में कुना खो एग्रीगेट आउटपुट $9 इजाफा में शाह और अगर टैक्स रा $100 मिलियन कम में कुना एग्रीगेट आउटपुट $900 मिलियन इजाफा में शाह और अगर गवर्नमेंट स्पेंडिंग रा $1 इजाफा में कुना खो GDP $10 ज़्यादा में शाह और अगर गवर्नमेंट स्पेंडिंग रा $100 मिलियन इजाफा में कुना GDP $1000 मिलियन इजाफा में शाह $1000 मिलियन आज $900 मिलियन ज़्यादा है।